Hey Shubh, welcome to the Last Wicket. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, very happy to join and talk about my journey and various aspects of cricket with you. So yeah, excited about it.
Awesome. Let's jump right into it. You've had the chance to work for Cricket.com, Circle of Cricket, even Cricinfo. Why don't you share with how your experience was? How did you get started?
Experience has been, I mean, nothing less than wonderful actually. Like I started working in 2017 March. If you remember that epic India-Australia Test series in India, that was where that Pune Test happened, then Bangalore Test,
Yes.
Ranchi, Dharamshala Test. So I think I joined during Dharamshala Test. That is when my career kind of began with Circle of Cricket, and you know, growing up, my initial plans were to bat like Rahul Dravid and bowl like Dale Steyn, but none of it worked out. So I thought during my college life, I had this thing in my mind that I want to get into cricket coverage in any capacity that is possible. So I think my journey really started with when I made my Twitter account in 2011. What really happened was that I was a 17-year-old kid then, and I used to love tweeting about cricket. My college ran from 2013 to 2017. In this period, I studied less and I live tweeted about cricket a lot more. So having done that, uh, I I happen to build a lot of contacts organically, like just interacting with people on Twitter, and even if it was not with someone who works at a cricket firm, I got to know people who knew people who were working in cricket firms. So what really happened was it was my last semester in college, and I was thinking that okay, if I don't step into cricket in any capacity right now, then my dad might push me towards a BTech life because I had done BTech, and so I thought if I don't score any job right now, then my dad might push me into engineering, and I did not want that. So what happened is that I remember sitting on my couch one day in front of a TV, and I just happened to receive a message, a Twitter DM from Saurabh Malhotra, who still is the social media manager at Circle of Cricket, and I had been following Saurabh ever since I made my account in 2011. So I had been following him for 6 years. I don't think he even knew about my existence. So Saurabh was looking for someone to join his social media team for Circle of Cricket before the start of the IPL, and he contacted this guy Ankur, who had become a very good friend of mine. Saurabh asked Ankur to join. Ankur said, "Okay, he's not available because he has other commitments." So Ankur referred my name. That is how Saurabh uh, DM'd me, and I was very thankful to Ankur that okay, he saw the passion in me and he referred my name to him. And then Saurabh asked me that he's looking for someone for his social media team. Am I interested? And that message kind of came at the right time, just when I was looking at how to get into it. So I went to their office, which was in Delhi, and I interviewed there. I got an internship which ran till the end of the IPL. They liked my work, and it was converted into full time in June 2017. And from there to till November 2018, I worked at Circle of Cricket as a social media executive there, where my job was to publish their articles online on their social media platforms in the most engaging way possible, so people click on those news pieces. Apart from that, I used to handle some social media accounts of some creators like Lalchand Rajput's Facebook page I handled. Same with Farooq Engineer also. I happened to manage Mayank Markanday and Shubman Gill's Twitter account briefly at the start of their Twitter accounts. So that went well, but at Circle of Cricket, I found out that I just don't want to do social media. I want to write. I want because at social media you are behind the curtains, right? Not many people know that you are seen, etc., etc. And I thought that okay, I can do long form pieces also, which I used to do occasionally for Circle of Cricket. And I thought that okay, I want to make this writing my thing. And I was then again looking forward to make a switch, go to a place where there is a lot more writing work. And again, I was sitting in front. of a TV on my couch. That is when I got a message, this time from Shashi Agrawal, who had become a very good friend of mine through Twitter. And he told me that, bro, there is a job in Bangalore that this company is about to start Cricinfo, and would you be happy to join the writing team? And again, it was just the right thing at the right time, because I also wanted to move to Bangalore or Mumbai, because that is where the cricketing hub is in India. So I said yes to Shashi. He put me in contact with the relevant people, and again I interviewed. They liked my work. My interview didn't go that well. Actually, I was very nervous, but I remember the guy who picked me telling me later on that he picked me because I also sent him a few of my articles that I had done for Circle it, and he liked that thing. So he did not go by my interview. He went by my body of work at that time. Again, very very grateful to him. And yeah, so that is how cricket.com started. I worked there for 6 years, probably the best phase of my life, because I learned a lot about cricket there. Because when you are into writing, you get to learn about things. You may see stuff on TV, you will write about that, but when you're writing about that, your thought process expands, and you like to, just checking out, researching for that piece, for one particular piece, you get to know about a lot of other things that you must not have known earlier. So, so yeah, at cricket.com, it was a brilliant time there. I loved breaking myths and proving my theories through numbers. And it went for 6 years, and then this was, I think, after the 2024 T20 World Cup. I again started looking for more opportunities, and then got into the stats team. So, so yeah, that this journey has been nothing short of amazing. I believe it started when I created my Twitter account in 2011, and 2017 I started working, and yeah, right now I'm looking for my next role.
That's amazing. It's funny you mentioned Saurabh because he's somebody I've tried to reach out as well. And I've been on Twitter since 2008, 9, and I've been in touch with
Oh,
him probably since 2010. So it's funny. I tried to get him on the podcast as well, but he was shy about it. But nonetheless, that's really great that you were able to form these organic bonds, and that's really the power of social media. Um, you mentioned the cricket.com journey and the writing piece as well, which reminded me of a story that, again, I'm not a writer like you or a statistics, but I do blog occasionally and try to keep up with cricket. And one of the things I wrote back in, again, early 2010s when I had a blog on, I think it was those blogger.com, blogspot.com domains back in those days was how playing the World Cup is going to really grow Zimbabwe cricket or something like that. And when I wrote that, there was a South African reporter who read it, and she absolutely ripped it apart and said, "Well, that doesn't do
oh,
anything." And what we need is investment in grassroots cricket. And she challenged my view, and to your point, like, that is where it really opened my eyes. And I was buying into all these, the narrative that you saw on TV and all of that, and it really made me think about that and challenge myself. So I truly agree with you. I think writing and really thinking through the thought process, getting feedback,
yeah,
all of that is critical to forming your opinion. And that's just not true for cricket, that's, I think, true for everything.
yeah,
um,
yeah, exactly.
so
Whatever
yeah,
you
I
write
mean,
about, I mean, whatever field it is, you will learn a lot about that topic. And I think writing also grows you as a person. So because you are investing your time into something, into shaping something which makes sense. So yeah, I think
yeah,
writing is an amazing tool to find yourself also as a person.
absolutely. I think the piece that you touched on a little bit, but maybe there's a little more to expand, is sort of the various roles and career paths in cricket. So you talked about social media, you talked about statistics, and then just long form writing. Why don't you just first, assume somebody young is listening who is probably, like you were in college thinking about careers in cricket. Um, let's assume you're in their shoes, or somebody like that is listening. What would you tell them to do if they wanted to venture down one of these paths? And also, is there any other path that you see for cricket crazy people who want to make a career in cricket, not related to playing?
See, first of all, I do keep getting a lot of DMs on LinkedIn and Twitter also with people asking me, bro, I want to get into this field and currently pursuing my degree right now, but I want to I want to get into cricket somehow after finishing college or when I start working. So what do I do? And my journey has been, I don't know, I feel that it has been very a bit different, a bit not that orthodox, because again I did not do any journalism or anything like that. I was a BTech student who was just trying to get through his exams and pass them on time. So yeah, a lot of people have asked me, and I keep sharing with them my experience. Ki, bro, this is how it happened with me. I mean, I did a lot of I just used to tweet for fun for myself and used to just engage with people. It happened, and after 6 years, I got a chance. So my journey has been very unconventional, I feel, but overall, if you see, building contacts really help you out if you want to get into this. No, so in none of my job interviews I've been asked about what I've done academically. So that does not matter as much because there is no defined degree that can get you into cricket in this world. So yeah, I think making contacts and doing that organically over a period of time really helps you out a lot. I think, as they say in Hindi, there's the Hindi saying that "Neki kar dariya mein dal." So that is what I was doing with my Twitter work there, and I did not assume that it will turn into something so fruitful at one point. But anyone who is getting into who wants to get into any kind of cricket coverage in India or anywhere in the world, first of all, I think they need to find their own niche and what they want to do. Like when I got into it, I just wanted to get into it, and I took anything that was available, even if it was not social media at that point. If it was any other menial work, I would have taken that also. So I started with social media, and there I found my niche that I want to write. Social media, I think it is the easiest platform, easiest avenue to get into cricket because we all know that how social media has boomed all of a sudden after COVID, especially, and every IPL team or broadcasters are bringing on influencers on board, etc., etc. So I think social media, it is the hottest right now. Many entry level jobs are also available there, and this is the most frequent job posting that I have seen in my job hunt in the last few weeks right now. Then comes writing. I think the value is just a bit going down because people's attention span has taken a hit. It pays less also. I mean, at entry level it pays less, but as you move on further, and if you reach a good level, or if you're with a good organization that is consistent, then you can get paid well also, but that comes after a while. You have to, like, and writing is a tough job, so you have to put in a lot of work to to start making good money if you are a writer. After that, uh, again, after 6 years of writing, I got into numbers a lot. So when I was at cricket.com, I was proving my theories through numbers, breaking myths through numbers. I found out that okay, this numbers, building a story with numbers is the thing that excites me the most. And I got a clear view that okay, I want to got into analysis, which can again be divided in two parts. One is broadcast analysis. If you got into places like Hawkeye or Star Sports or like Fox Cricket
ClickWiz.
outside India, CricViz, all of them are comes under broadcast analysis. But and then there is team analysis also. Like if you get into performance analytics, to get with an IPL team. That is, I think, everyone's. That is my goal, at least. That is my aspiration right now, just to get there because I know numbers. I can derive game strategies, etc., etc. So I really feel that that is something I can do. Some that is my ambition right now. So yeah, social media writing, analysis, these are some major avenues in cricket if you are looking to get into it without being a player. And then there are other jobs like marketing jobs will always be there in every cricket coverage organization. Similarly, sports management jobs are there, engineering jobs are there, coding jobs are there. But those are like they are first an engineering job or a management job, and then the cricketing part comes into it. You are not really into real cricket. Into real cricket, if you want to be in, then I think writing and analytics is something that can really expand your knowledge as a person, as a cricket fan also.
Would you say having, you mentioned you journeyed your way from social media to writing to statistics. Would you say having the a background in, statistics and math in general is important, or do you think this is something that you can still learn on the go?
You need to have good knowledge of maths actually. Uh, but that is true only for the analytics part, because you will come through a lot of complex number that you will have to uh, break down into comprehensible form, and that is where Excel plays a big part. And I don't think I'm someone who really knows everything about Excel, but I have with time I grew to learn about all the tools that I would need while I copy paste data from a data tool into Excel, and then using different formulas there. So whatever is there, that is going to be helpful for me. I know that part. And yeah, numbers. If you are dealing with numbers in any field, you need to have some basic maths going your way. So that is something that you can learn on the go as well, because I don't think it's very hard. It's just that if you understand the game well, you know what you are doing, you know in what form you want to break down the numbers, then I think that is something that you can learn on the go as well. That is why I said that degree is not as much important if you want to get into cricket coverage industry. What is more important is your experience and knowledge in watching the game. So, so yeah, basic maths is important, but still, I feel having that cricketing knowledge can still take you across the show.
One other thing that I've always wondered is, does playing cricket make you a better writer? Because, and I say that in terms of, like I think about storytelling. You talked about storytelling, and one of the storytellers of our generation who's really famous is Harsha Vogle, who obviously played cricket, but at a junior level, not didn't play for India under 19 or the senior levels. And he's obviously done a great job of, being a storyteller for all these years. Um, so, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think the playing aspect adds value as a writer or just a storyteller? Because that's always something I struggle with looking at commentators. Sometimes I think even though all of these ex-players have all this experience, they still end up talking about a very lot of cliches, things like that. So, this is something I've always wondered. I don't know what your thought is.
First of all, I think cliches with commentary. I feel that commentary is a very hard job, and a lot of people who call out the cliches, they are not aware of how bloody tough job commentary is. Because see, a commentator, you have to accept that every cricket game has one phase where the game is going nowhere at all. There is nothing to talk about the game, and but the commentators still have to fill in that space with some story or something,
Right,
and they can't even afford to stutter, or take long. I mean, just don't speak. They can't afford to not speak on the
right.
on the mic, right? So it's a very very tough job, and I think people judge commentators very harshly. I think Wasim Akram and all is a lot that okay, you can still say okay, you can do much better. What's up with those cliches, and had a chat with him in the morning, etc., etc. Not just Wasim Akram, there are a few others as well that I really don't.
Yes.
That I really feel that okay, they need to put in their homework. But someone like Harsha Bhogle, as you touched upon, people are like you hype the game a lot when the game is actually not worth hyping and stuff. But I feel that if you are able to hype the game during a boring phase or during a dull phase of the game, that is an achievement as a commentator, I feel. But going beyond what you originally asked about the role of having played cricket, of course it helps. I mean, even if uh, I mean, even if I'm playing gully cricket and I am in a situation where I need to hit 13 runs of the last six balls to win the game for my team, and years later, if I'm doing a piece with a bat, writing about a batter who has been in a similar kind of situation, then I mean it is not the same level of cricket because I played gully cricket and that guy is actually in an international match or an IPL game, but I can still relate myself to the situation maybe in some extent. So I feel if someone has played the game, they will have a bit more relatability uh, with the player while writing. There are a lot of different aspects that can come into play. Like I'm studying for example right now, but overall I feel that yeah, if you have played some amount of cricket, it helps. But even if you have not, that does not mean that you cannot be a good writer or you cannot write effectively. So yeah,
Right.
it's an upside. But even if you have not played, but you're very good at storytelling, your heart is in the right place, you understand the game well, you can still go places.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the example that always stays with me is, um, if let's say if I'm shown a basketball, and I'm not a big basketball fan, but if I'm shown a basketball clip of a player doing something amazing in the NBA, I'm sure I'll realize that yeah, that was a good play, but I don't know
Yeah,
how complicated it is to execute that because I've never played basketball as compared to
exactly.
cricket or leather ball cricket. I've played a swinging ball, and so I understand how tough it is to judge that and judge length and all that kind of stuff.
Another thing I would like to add is that growing up, I heard a lot in commentary about the importance of playing the ball late, but I was never sure what they actually meant. But when I started playing myself, and I joined academy for a brief while as a seventh standard kid, my coach told me that I'm playing very front on. There are balls which are swinging outside the off stump, so I can play them late. That is when it hit me. Oh, that is what the commentators meant when they are saying that play the ball late. Another thing
Right.
is, as a whatever little cricket that I have played, I used to bowl fast. I tried bowling fast, but I could never bowl a good effective short ball. So now when I'm writing and I can see a bowler who is bowling consistently good 145 kph plus short balls and a batter to trouble him, then I know how hard it is because I couldn't do it when I used to play as a kid. So all those things come into play, and you are able to relate with the player a bit more. You can derive the character arc of that player much better, much more effectively in your writing. So that is where playing a bit helps.
Absolutely. Um, I want to also take a deeper dive into social media and just managing accounts or just writing for being a social media manager for various cricket sites. The one thing that is true, unfortunately, for social media is you write something more scandalous or more controversial, it gets more likes. That is just how the algorithms work. And I was wondering, how have you worked to make sure there's a good balance in terms of, let me make sure there's good, quality, and we're not just chasing clicks, because that unfortunately is something that is getting more and more common, where you see not just scandalous headlines, but even think about YouTube thumbnails. They are all kinds of crazy, and actually the content is not that crazy at all. You're on mute, Shub.
Sorry, I didn't realize that. Yeah, so I was saying that first of all, you have to understand where it comes from, why people are doing it, because there is a need to create, there is an urgency to create curiosity among masses for them to click on these kind of, YouTube videos or whatever it is. And I'm not against that because that is the basic nature of every business that you have to drive audience somehow. But now I think there needs to be a balance with it. And off late, what is off late? Like last 4 5 years, it has just gone beyond the roof in terms of balance, tilting heavily towards those scandalous things. We should not be happening. The biggest example I feel is people misquoting, like not just people. I will say, suppose a player. a player has said something and it is a news piece. But when it is presented on social media, even if everything is written to the T in terms of what the player said in his PC, inside the piece, it is marketed with a distorted assumption, with a distorted meaning of that quote, right? Like players are misquoted by news organizations on their social media handles, and that is something which I feel is very unethical form of journalism right now. Similarly, I have seen some news organizations which are putting up headlines like Rohit Sharma becomes the first batter to dot dot dot. That is headline, and I'm like, come on, how can you do that? And then there are fake quotes on Twitter these days, which a lot of handles post fake quotes of players, and Elon Musk has incentivize those blue tick handles to put those things they are providing in monetary benefit, etc., etc. So, I think we are ever since I started, actively participating in social media. I think this last 4 5 years has been the most toxic time that has gone around on social media. It is very tough to strike a balance because see, what I feel is it needs to come from people also. The change cannot just come from the news coverage industry. It needs to come from the people also because the news covering people are presenting what the people like to read. And unfortunately, we live in a country where most of the people are middle class, where they spend their whole day flogging their ass at work, they come back home. And then I can understand you are not in that mental state where you want to learn about the game. You want masala news. You want to know that which cricketer is dating whom, etc., etc. All those kind of stuff, which I personally feel. I personally have never been indulged in. Like ever since I became a fan, my sole focus has been what is going on the field. So I think it needs to come from the people as well that they also should be eager to write like long form pieces about a match, something that really happened in the game. And it's not like those kind of pieces are not available online. They are. Like as much as I know of people who like to indulge in this kind of toxicity, is a bunch of people who are really nerd level people who are really cricket nerds, and then they slog their ass to find specific kind of data which is relevant to their story, bring a new angle to their piece. I mean, both you and I are part of this best of cricket substack, which I think is doing a pretty good job in terms of presenting numbers and covering this World Cup from a very analytical lens. But again, I don't think it will get as many views as a clickbaity article about Hardik Pandya's new girlfriend that is going around the town. So I think it needs to come from the people as well. It's going to take a long time. Maybe it took 4 5 years for this toxicity to build up. I think it may take 5 10 years for if people are in line, they are crediting the right kind of content, then again it may take another 5 10 years for it to normalize. But I think it is something that needs to come from the people as much as it needs to come from the news covering people.
Yeah, and on this, you mentioned also influencers, and this is another piece that I struggle with. Like there was this influencer with David Miller after India's recent loss to South Africa, and yeah, the whole clip. I mean, I didn't even watch the whole clip, but it was cringe to say the least. And as you said, there's a lot of us who would rather listen to individual podcasters, bloggers, people who are doing in-depth analysis, spend time doing deep dives like that because, they feel they've learned something. And but I do think like there is becoming more and more space of these influencers, and it seems like ICC and all these organizations, news organizations, are also giving them space. Even Bollywood movies, I feel like I've seen random influencers show up in Bollywood movies. Um, so do you think that presence is increasing, and do you think that is related to You talked a little bit about how people's attention span is decreasing with things like YouTube Shorts versus the ability to read a long form article. Um, so, do you think like all of that is contributing to the rise of influencers and how social media gets managed?
Yeah, of course. I think it is directly linked that the short form content that they put towards their audience, and then they get these gigs, and it is something that does not make me happy. It's I need to be honest, and it's not a recent thing. It has been happening since a while. I mean, I remember 2023 World Cup also, which happened in India. A lot of influencers were traveling with the team, and where it icks me the most is like a few days ago, I tweeted about my Twitter mutual Mohsin Kamal, who's a very honest journalist who has spent his life covering Jammu and Kashmir cricket, and he wrote about even as a journalist inside the press box or in the stadium, there are certain things that you cannot do. Uh, like when I applied for the 2023 World Cup accreditation, my accreditation was rejected. But again, my manager told me that even if you had gotten it, there are some strict rules that you may have to follow inside. And then coming back to Mohsin again, he did not get his accreditation pass as a journalist to cover the ongoing Ranji Trophy final, which is a historic game for Jammu and Kashmir. And he has
Right.
covered his life. He has spent his life covering Jammu and Kashmir cricket. So when these things happen, it makes you feel bad, right? When you are sidelined, having dedicated your life to the sport, and then you see influencers get such exclusive access to players, some perks. I mean, you don't want to be salty because these are two completely different fields that is kind of attached to social media, and then what this is journalism, but it still hits you. It still makes you think, and uh, I mean, I am not even against the influencers to be honest, but what sometimes happen is that so for example, this David Miller reel that you talked about, and the influencer that has been dragged to mud because of the cringe content that she made. What so I have been following her since 2 3 years on Instagram, and I think she's a fabulous content creator. But the problem is that in those 2 3 years that I had been following her, there was not a single reel about cricket. No, not a single cricketing joke, anything, not a single reference in the 2 3 years of me uh, following her. But rest of her content is very good. She's an RJ, and she builds some really nice content around it. So my problem is if you are bringing influencers on board, bring people who are actually interested in the game. If you are bringing people
Right.
who have no attachment with cricket, as I said, this David Miller girl, she has not posted about cricket at all, and she is a big time influencer. So you know that she's not into cricket at all. And when you bring those kind of people on board, it's not their mistake, but the content that will come out will be cringe. Obviously, it would be unwatchable, like that David Miller reel was. So again, even if you're bringing influencers, make sure you're bringing the right kind of people on board. Uh, that is where it irks me a lot. That okay, just because you had a lot of visibility online, this is not you were preparing for, and this is having going to the stadium covering matches is something that I have held as an aspiration in my entire life. And then someone else who has not covered cricket, who's not even a cricket fan, just gets into it like that. It really uh, uh, makes me think about my life choices.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like as you said, like it's two different fields, influencers versus journalism or writing. But unfortunately, like the bandwidth that cricket teams have or cricketers have is limited. Like they can only devote so much time to anybody outside of the core group, whether that is
Yeah,
writers or influencers. So that's where, unfortunately, that's where we are going. Um, but that's a great point about, at least making sure that the influencer or whoever the social media person might be is somebody who actually has a background in the subject that they are covering.
yeah.
Just picking somebody due to popularity is a recipe for disaster, as we've seen in recent times. Um, Going back to statistics, I know you mentioned this is the niche that you found a home for yourself, and storytelling through statistics is something you enjoy. Um, there's a wide range of that. There's people like me, amateurs, who look up Crickmetric and random other dashboards and cricket search engines that are publicly available. There are people like Cricketing View and Himanish Ganju, and people at Cricinfo, CricWiz, who do advanced, statistics and modeling and things like that. Um where do you focus? And one of the things that I've always struggled with is, how do you get access to all this data? Because, like, let's say Hawkeye is something that it's not always shared. All these boards don't always share that data for each test series. So how do you work around that? What are your thoughts about that? As to again, I think of this as advice to somebody who's starting off as a in the field of statistics in cricket.
So what I focus on is mostly ball by ball data and the Hawkeye data that I used to get because uh, I was working for a few cricket covering organizations, and they all of them have access or have subscribed to some specific data tools, or they have their inbuilt data system through which is provided to the in-house team, and they have the access to all that data to work with during the live game. But yeah, talking about numbers and all, yeah, analysis and Hawkeye has been like my prime focus. And the ball by ball stuff, I mean, it actually contains stuff beyond scorecard. So yeah, when I joined cricket.com, we had the quiz tool at that point of time. And I can't tell you, my eyes just widened with happiness when I had the access to that tool. That was the first time I had access to such a detailed ball by ball stat engine, and the kind of options that were there, like a batter's numbers on front foot against spin, on front foot against a specific bowling type. This is the Hawkeye data when it comes to front foot, back foot lengths, shot type, scoring areas, and all. This is the Hawkeye data that I'm talking about. The ball by ball data will include stuff like a batter strike rate in first 10 balls. I think it is a very, very interesting metric to separate players from one another, separate batters who play at the similar position from one another. Like there is an opener who scores 8 runs of 10 balls and then accelerates. And then there is an opener like Finn Allen who will score 24 runs in the first 10 balls on an average. So both of them are openers, but that first 10 ball strike rate metric will help you segregate them. So similarly, one thing that I derived, one eye-opening fact that I got through this ball by ball data is that I started watching cricket in 2002. I did not saw the glory years of Lance Klusner or a Michael Bevan, and I grew up on listening to stories about them. Growing up, when I had access to data, I found out that okay, both of them are called the greatest finishers of their time. The people who may have started coined this term finisher, but they were two very opposite kind of finishers. Like Michael Bevan was more focused on maximizing running between the wickets, efficiency, hitting the ball in the gaps. But Lance Klusner was someone who had like butchery power to just smash every ball to the ropes. So while both of them are finishers, both of them are very different kind of finisher. That is something that I understood much later on. So ball by ball data is something that will help you understand things that are beyond scorecard. And if you combine that with the Hawkeye data, I think you can have so much information about a player without watching the game. I mean, watching the game is always the best way to follow a game. But even if you have missed out on a game, you just go through these kind of numbers. Combining ball by ball data with Hawkeye can tell you about whether a player has evolved, he has regressed, or what a team tactic is. So all those kind of stuff comes into play. Another example could be in 2019 World Cup. There was this league match between England and Australia, and England are chasing some 280 odd. I don't remember. They had an early collapse, and Ben Stokes is batting. It's the same game where Mitchell Stark bowls that Yorker to Ben Stokes,
Yes.
bowls him, and
Yep.
Stokes just leaves his bat. So what? One thing that I found out in that game was, though England were in pressure, Ben Stokes was constantly charging down the track against pacers, and that made me, you know, that made me check a specific number on the stat tool that I had, that which batter had stepped down the most against pacers in this World Cup. And the answer was Ben Stokes. And the difference between Stokes and the second place Warner was around like by 10, 12 occasions, when 10, 12 times more Stokes has, charged down the track to a pacer. So that instantly made me think that okay, Stokes is a player who is not shy away to even charge down against pacers to create pressure on them, even when the pressure is on his team. That is his way of combating through different kind of combating through difficult situations. I similarly did a piece in IPL 2024, which was like a mad IPL in terms of run scoring. IPL 24, I did a piece about after the halfway mark about the death bowling plans of every team. And how that piece went was, from my stat tool, I had this I had this Hawkeye graphic which showed me the pitch map of the last 5 overs of every team. And then it was my job to just sit down with those 10 pitch maps and find out patterns. So, and with those patterns, I can derive that what each team is trying to do. For example, the stuff that I found was, because the Ahmedabad ground is so big, uh, 30%, a vast majority of the balls were, a vast majority of the death overs bowling for Gujarat Titans was done by Mohit Sharma because of his slower ones. And because it's a big ground, big ground pe, I mean, hitting slower balls for sixes consistently was a
It's
big
very hard.
problem.
Yeah.
And then same Mohit Sharma, and that same Mohit Sharma previous year was in Delhi. Tosha Kotla, small boundaries, and he was getting smacked all around the park. Not 23, I think it was 22, but he was with Delhi once and he got smacked around the park because he was
Right.
trying to nail those slower ones in a smaller field. So yeah, there are so many things that you can find out. You can find out some highly interesting trivia as well, some nerd level numbers if you are really into it. For example, if you remember that AB de Villiers 100 against Mumbai Indians at Wankhede in 2015, he scored a 133 not out. I found out because I'm a huge AB fan. I wanted to see what is the fall shot percentage in that innings for AB de Villiers. It is only 3.1% fall shot percentage for him in that innings. That is the lowest fall shot percentage for any 100 in IPL. So
Wow.
that tells you that AB de Villiers has played the smoothest knock ever, has scored the smoothest 100 ever that you will find in IPL. That too against Bumrah and Malinga. So years down the line, if you're writing a piece on AB de Villiers and his greatness in IPL, that trivia, because I'm an AB fan, that is something imprinted in my mind. So I can again bring this trivia showing that how he dominated people like Malinga, Bumrah, and still had a fall shot percentage of only 3.1 while scoring 133 not out. It is crazy. It will add so much more to the piece. So yeah, this is something. I mean, this is why I'm so much into numbers. But it is also important to comprehend those numbers correctly. Like I see people not considering sample size when they are comparing
Right.
two players. Uh, uh, with the Indian team itself, you can see India took a tactical call of playing Washington Sundar over Akshar Patel. Just because he's an off spinner and the South Africans have a lot of lefties. That is
Right.
correct. That okay, righties that off breaks is more might be more successful against left-handers. But the point is, you still know that Washington Sundar is a much more superior. Sorry, Akshar Patel is a much more superior player than
Right.
Washington of quality every single aspect. So just because data says something, you can't drop a player who's so far ahead in terms of quality. So numbers are amazing, but you also need to be careful with them. And since you talked about the access to numbers again, if you are in a organization that is willing to do good work in terms of analysis numbers, it is their responsibility to provide you with a tool where you can extract numbers from. Rest depends on you. Rest depends on your talent, your knowledge of the game. But yeah, I've been lucky to work with some really handy tools, and which has evolved me as a writer, which made me very interested in writing stuff. And then just add another point. Numbers also provide a lot of objectivity to getting
Yeah.
discourses. For example, it is very easy to say everyone knows that Babar Azam is a slow batter. He's a slow starter in T20s, which doesn't really go well for his team. And now, but how slow is he? So this World Cup before the yesterday night's game between England and Pakistan, the numbers that I was checking was that Babar Azam had a strike rate of 70, 75 something in the first 10 ball of his innings, which is the second lowest for any full member nation player in this World Cup who has played more than 20 balls. So that shows you that okay, he's not just slow, he's amongst the slowest. And that kind
Right.
of a bat coming in at number 4, they had a Saib Sada Farhan up top who is scoring quick runs, but then Babar Azam comes, Salman Ali Agha, who are not natural T20 batters, but because they are slow,
Right.
that they suck out all the momentum. So I mean, you find numbers, and then it is upon you that how do you use it. But numbers can define a story so much better, bringing objectivity to your argument.
Yeah, and that objectivity piece is critical. Like I when I started again, I started writing 2010s. We the only numbers we had access to was Stats Guru on Cricinfo. And even that was not as well defined as it is today. And what I've come to realize is, many arguments, particularly with another generation. I play cricket here in Chicago, and I play with people who are 10, 15 years older than me as well. And many of them will in nostalgia, make claims of, oh, how that team was just unplayable. Could not bowl spin against a Dravid or a Lakshman or a Tendulkar, and that's where it's very easy to ground them in numbers and say, hey, well, Michael Clark took 6 for 9 against them, so it's not that they were, they were just smashing spin day in and day out.
Yeah,
So
they.
I think that sort of objectivity is very hard to argue against, and it really makes. I think it just makes debates about favorites and all of that a lot better. I think there will still be some subjectivity because at the end of the day,
Eras
um,
are different and all.
eras are different, and even within eras, like if you think about it, let's talk about early 2000s. You said you started watching in 2002 or so, so you probably saw the last year or so two of Andy Flower. Like, he was an absolutely amazing batter, and he was in the best batter of an extremely weak team. Now there will always be subjective people who will say, oh, well, he was a great batter in an extremely weak team, facing bowling lineups substantially better than his, and still doing better, so he was better than whoever, somebody mainstream, from Australia or India. Like, there'll be those subjective opinions all the time. um, and that's fine, like that enriches cricket conversation, but the fact that we can anchor it to some sort of quantitative measure really just
Yeah.
takes the conversation to another level, and helps us. I'm sure we're going to get to, I mean, we're already at an era where people like Jared Kimber will talk about true average and true strike rate, and things like that, which you can have across eras. So
Again, I'd just like to add that, okay, so since you mentioned true average and all, and so if you're comparing like a Dravid with a Kohli, you cannot do it because they're played in such different eras. Their Test
right.
cricket era has turned completely upside down. ODI cricket
Yeah.
has turned upside down. So true average is a metric that okay that puts you in a place that where you can say, okay, this guy was this much better than his peers in his era, and now this guy is this much better. So those kind of numbers really help, and that is where maths also comes into play. Since we touched upon it, that knowing some maths, knowing how to derive those numbers without any mathematical flaws, it becomes quite key. And about again academics again, like the kind of pieces that Himanish Kanju does, that has a lot of physics involved in it as well. Like he will talk about when Bumrah gets dip on his balls, how much vertical velocity he has lost, how much horizontal velocity
Right.
has been imparted. And I have been into numbers, but even I struggle to understand those pieces. I will have to read the piece maybe twice, each para maybe
Right.
twice, because it is so interesting. I want to know that okay, this is something I may not remember for a long time. That okay, this is the XY amount of speed is the speed that a Bumrah loses or imparts more in the ball in terms of horizontal and vertical tangent of his dip. But that is something that fascinates you. And
Yeah.
I mean, cricket is a game that has fascinated me so many times. Like I feel that cricket is no less like in real life. You will read some news and you will be aghast that okay, how did this happen? You will be startled. You will be fascinated by real day-to-day life news pieces. Some of the news pieces, and similarly in cricket also there have been many instances where your first reaction would be, "Is it true? I have to check it." You check it, and then it comes out to be true. So cricket is not much different from life, and yeah, it is a fascinating sport, and it has so many angles to cover. I mean, even if you are watching a game, on every ball you have so many things that you can judge. Uh, you have so many things to keep an eye on, like the release of the ball, the trajectory of the ball, wicket keeper, is he standing up at the correct time, how the batter moves his feet, even umpiring you can judge, right? So on one ball you have so many metrics that you have to observe. So yeah, cricket is a fascinating sport.
Absolutely. I think that's where, and again, I'm not to try and act like I know all sports out there, but I don't know if there's a sport which has as many complexities because, let's
Exactly.
if we take football for example, people will talk about home advantages and things like that, and obviously knowing the ground, having the fan supporting, all of that matters, but doesn't dynamically change the way cricket happens, and that's where it's so different in cricket because India might be playing in Ranchi for the fifth time in last 5 years, but the pitch could be completely different,
It could
and
be
the soil
completely
might,
different.
yeah, it might be a black
You
soil pitch
can
versus a red soil pitch
ask
or something.
you can ask Steve Smith's experience of playing Test cricket in Australia. Like his first half of his career, when he turned into a batter from 14 to 18, the pitches were completely different to what they are now in Australia. He
Right.
would even think that he's like playing in Australia, which is on Mars or something, because the ball is just spitting cobra at many times. But in from 2013 to 2017, 18 until Alistair Cook scored that lifeless double hundred in MCB in that 2017 Ashes. I think the pitches were a sleeping beauty in Australia at that time. Now it's a
Yeah.
spitting cobra most of the times. So yeah, at the same venue, things can just flip around like that, and a player's numbers will go upside down. So yeah, I mean, so many elements in the game.
Absolutely. Um, Shubh, I've had a lot of fun talking to you about all these various roles and career paths in cricket, but we would be remiss to not talk about the T20 World Cup that is underway.
Yeah, of course.
I read some of your thoughts with the Super 8 previews for Best of Cricket, and there was a great article by not just you, but a number of different writers
Yeah,
who
man,
came
definitely.
together. What are your thoughts so far on the T20 World Cup? Anything that has surprised you?
My thoughts on the T20 World Cup is I was not really I was not really into it as the tournament was coming because again, every 18 months you have a T20 World Cup, every 8, 10 months you have a big ICC tournament coming in, and 5th of February, the WPL final happened. The 6th Feb, the Under-19 World Cup final happened. And 7th Feb, the World Cup starts. So there is some fatigue going on about how cricket is scheduled these days. I was not much into it, but once the World Cup started, boy, oh boy, it has been fantastic World Cup so far to follow. First of all, with the group stage, you saw the associate teams doing so well. And again, the associate teams doing well might come as a surprise to many people, and it was also a pleasant surprise to me. But when I thought about it, it was not a surprise as such. There was logic behind it because associate cricket has the stature of associate cricket has also improved a lot over the last 4 5 years. I feel it has become much more professional now. So And the players are also those associate players are also playing in different leagues around the world. If not in IPL, they are a hot property in IL 20, or someone will
Right.
get a call in CPL. So they are playing a lot with bigger players now. So their cricket was bound to improve. And watching many associates play, you did not get the feel like you're watching an associate team. You felt like there's a professional cricket team out there competing with the
Yeah.
big boys. Even if they are losing on big defining moments in the game, which are keeping them second in the race. But you still feel okay. There's some good cricket going on. Like USA held India by the net. Netherlands almost defeated Pakistan. So again, it is a good element to have, but not a surprising factor. India's form in this World Cup can be a surprise to many. But again, if you see the science behind it, that Indian batters have struggled a lot in this World Cup. And I think the reason behind that is because in the build-up of this World Cup, everything was about batting on flat pitches. Hardik Pandya himself said about the Namibia game that we want flat pitches. But again, this is not a BCCI bilateral series or IPL. The pitches are controlled by ICC. There is some grip on the surface. And Indian batters are operating in the same mold as they did before this World Cup. So they are bound to lose the early wickets, which is putting them under pressure. So many people are saying it's a surprise, but it's a surprise, yes. But if you think about it, there is logic behind it. A surprise for me would be Zimbabwe, because though I love Zimbabwe as a nation, I know they had the capability and all, but I was still not expecting them to top their group. And that was so heartening to see that first they defeated Australia, and after that, the way they defeated Sri Lanka. Sikandar Raza is one of my favorite players now, not now, since a few years, because he has been amazing in a in a pretty weak team. I think he has single-handedly almost pulled Zimbabwe cricket out of all the jeopardy that they were in, and they have made them compete again and again against Sri Lanka. Also, the way he batted was fabulous to watch. So yeah, not really surprised by much, but really happy to see Zimbabwe doing well, topping the group. And yeah, it has been an amazing World Cup to follow. I was not into it before the start of it, but it has been amazing, and I hope it ends on a high.
Absolutely. And on that positive note, we'll end this episode. Shubh, thank you so much for your time. It's been amazing chatting with
Yeah,
you. We
same here.
hope we get you back and we chat about more exciting things all about cricket.
Sure, man, always up for it. Thank you.